Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I am Surbhi Sardana and I will be taking this daily answer writing initiative from Monday to Friday at 9 pm. Today is day 7 of Seize the Mains initiative. This initiative will go on for 90 days. You can download the schedule from the description below. Let's see what is the topic for our day 7 of daily answer writing practice. The topic for today is from GS3. It concerns conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, and environmental impact assessment. This is the favorite portion of UPSC or any state public service commission to ask questions from. You can expect most of the environment questions from this subtopic, and every year topics from environment impact assessment, any waste management rules that have been updated, any current issues that concern the pollution of environment and how to safeguard it and protect the interest of local communities. These questions are tweaked in one way or the other and they are asked directly in the exam for like 10 or 15 marks, 150 words or 250 words questions. So before proceeding further, before I display the question, I request you to put a pen and a paper close to you. As I display the question, pause the video, note down the points which you already know about the topic and use them as keywords in your answer and try to frame the structure of your answer, how you will be approaching this answer. Environmental impact assessment is a very important topic, and let's see what questions can be asked from this area and what is the question for today. So let me read it out for you. What is environmental impact assessment and what is its significance? Critically evaluate the implications of star rating of states for according environmental clearances. This question has to be answered in 250 words and it will fetch you 15 marks. So let's understand the question first. As you can see, this question has two parts to it. The first part asks you to define what is environmental impact assessment and give its significance. The second part has the keyword critically evaluate. This is our directive for the day. Critically evaluate the implications of star rating of states for according environmental clearances. As we know that the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Conservation recently announced that there would be a ranking of states and state environmental impact agencies. This was a recent notification. This ranking will be carried out for the states if they impart environmental clearances in a shorter span of time to new developmental projects. So this has been a very contentious issue, especially with the environmentalists and those members of civil society who work for the local communities, because this particular rating of states will put them into competition to pass environmental projects, to pass environmental clearances as soon as possible, and it might hamper the decision making process. It might quicken it, but the environment will be in a very bad loss. The environmental part of it, the environmental part of decision making will suffer losses. So let's see what is the demand of the question here and how we can use our knowledge to structure an answer here. What is environmental impact assessment and what is its significance? I think this part of the question can be easily answered by going through the regular textbooks. EIA, definition of EIA and its significance is very much available in the regular textbooks that you are following. And the second part consists of an issue that has been taken from the current affairs and what can be its implications. You have to critically evaluate it. And see, for now, only negative parts, only negative critics have been there. Only negative explanation has been available in the newspaper editorials that we are reading or the magazines we are following for this star ranking of states. But if you see this question in your exam, mains is after a few months. By that time, the central government will also come out with some reports or some data that how this star ranking has benefited the country. So this is a question about critically evaluate. We'll be addressing mostly the negative points, negative implications of star ranking. But when you see a question that also, for example, if it is a discuss question, then you'll have to address both sides of the argument, and you'll have to say talk about the positive implications also. Since it is a move of central government, you cannot just go on to talk negative about it. So you'll have to have positive points also. So wait for this issue to crystallize, wait for it, give it some time, and the central government will definitely come out with a report on PIB, or some minister will come out with its report, and we will get to know that what are the actual benefits of this star ranking system, what are the actual benefits on field, what is the data available of the benefits. Okay, so just this is an important question, so keep an eye on it, keep an eye on this issue, and take a follow up as and when it is available in current affairs. So let's see how we can start by building an answer. First, we'll start by addressing the first part of the question, which directly demands us what is EIA, what is environmental impact assessment. So we'll not beat around the bush here, we'll give the examiner what he's directly asking. We don't have to build a conversation in the introduction, we can just define here. This is a definition question, so we just have to start by the definition of environmental impact assessment and talk about its significance. And see, it is a 250 words question, so you need to understand that there are two parts to it, so your answer will become very lengthy. So if whenever you start by start answering the first part of this question, just make your first part, explanation to first part, very short, because this is the main question. The second part, the critically evaluate part, is the main question, because this is the main issue. So you will be evaluated on the basis of how you address this part more than this part. It could be 70% for the second part and 30% for the first part. So make sure that you adhere to the word limit, and you keep the first part, the explanation to first part, very short. So let's start by answering the first part first. See, environmental impact assessment has a lot of definitions. There is, you can have your own definition. There is a definition by UNEP. There is a definition by FAO. The Indian government must also have its own definition. So if you can memorize a particular definition and you can just straight away write that in your exam, just quote according to this organization. Like in the first line, I have quoted according to UNEP, this is the definition of EIA. If you cannot remember the precise definition, use your own definition, build your own definition, and then enrich your answers with diagrams and flowcharts and whatever you can improvise with. So starting from here, according to UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Programme, environmental impact assessment is a tool. Tool has been underlined here. It is a tool to identify the environmental, social and economic impacts of a project prior to decision making, before even the project has been started on ground. Before that, there has to be some assessment that what will be its impacts on the environment, on the social level, and on what would be its economic impact. So that is your environmental impact assessment. It aims to predict environmental impacts at an early stage in project planning and design. See, predict is the word here. If you understand what do we mean by environmental impact assessment, this is a very basic definition. EIA is actually carried out to foresee what can be the negative sides of developing a project. For example, if you have to develop even a flyover, so this could happen that the road which was going on from a semi-urban area, the shopkeepers might not be able to trade as much as they were trading before. Their businesses might suffer, small shopkeepers might suffer, or there could be a river passing through that area, or it could be a pass by for local wildlife there. So assessing that, foreseeing that what could be the negative impacts of any developmental project, that is what environmental impact assessment is about, and that is what we are trying to tell the examiner through a basic definition here in these lines. And this assessment also involves finding other ways of developing the same project, so that the negativities of that project can be reduced. So it also addresses about alternative mechanisms, alternative projects that can be carried out in that area to cause the least harm to the environment and local communities or local wildlife there. So this is your introduction, this is your basic definition. Since it is a long one, you can also do, what you can do is that whatever these points are written here after commas, you can create a diagrammatic illustration to, so that the examiner knows that you are very well versed with the definition of EIA. I have used two here. These are from Google Images. You can create your own definition and your own diagrammatic representation, or you can just download the PDF of this file and use directly one of these two in your definition for EIA or your environment answers. Don't use both of them, because both of them convey the same meaning, and this is exactly your definition in diagrammatic form. So choose one of them and use whatever fits your answer. These are very easy to make. You don't necessarily have to draw these circles in your exam. Don't waste time. Just write EIA in the middle of the paper and just write impact, prevent damage and propose alternative. These three functions of environmental impact assessment by putting some arrows. You don't have to make the circles. You will not have that much time in your exam. So these are the ideas for diagrammatic representations. The second part of the question is this. The first part wants a definition from your side and its significance. So let's talk about the significance part of EIA now. So what is the significance? What is the importance of environmental impact assessment? So significance and importance. What is the importance of EIA? See, environmental impact assessment is not a very old phenomena. We saw that in many developed countries and developing countries also, a lot of development was taking place on the infrastructure front, but the environment was suffering. After the Rio summit of 1992, which you must have read about in your environment books, after that summit, sustainable development was in news very much. All countries understood that what is the importance of sustainable development, and after this most countries included in their legislations the importance of environmental impact assessment. For a very long period of time, environmental impact assessment was an administrative process in the country. There was no legislative backing to it. It was just an executive process. But after this Environmental Protection Act of 1986, the central government introduced EIA as a legislative measure in the EPA Act of 1986. So what is its significance? Significance is what we have learned with time, why it was important. So the first point talks about the sustainable development. EIA ensures sustainable development so that we don't end up using or misusing all the resources in the present. There are things available for the sustenance of future generations also. Here the point of sustainable development has been elaborated. Choose according to your word limit. You can just choose to write only the keywords in your answer if you're running out of word limit. But if you have some word limit available, just understand the meaning of these points and choose to write whatever fits your answer. The second point is, of course, it mitigates the negative impacts through informed decision making, because there is a process that goes behind environmental impact assessments. The decision making is very much informed. Seasonal impacts of a project, whether the project will function possibly well in the monsoon season as it is functioning in the winter season. Those impacts, the impacts on local communities, the impacts on wildlife, all of them are taken into account before starting a project. So that's how EIA is important. That's how important it is. So it mitigates the negative impacts through informed decision making. It enables monitoring of programs to be established to assess future impacts and provide data on which managers can take informed decisions to avoid environmental damage. See, data is the most important point here. To assess the positives or negatives of something, you always need to have data. Where does that data come from? For example, if something has to be developed in a village, how do we get to know that these many people's employment will suffer or these many people's houses will have to be brought down? So where does that come from? That comes from statistics, that comes from the data that goes behind developing EIA reports. So it mitigates negative impacts is your second significance. The third significance is about cost effectiveness. It just does not benefit the environment or local communities, the people who are building the project. For them also the cost of projects, they come down, the economic cost and the social cost. What if a project is started, the government starts to build a dam, but there are riots happening, there are protests happening. So the government has invested the capital, but because of the protest, the project cannot develop further. So when EIA is done, and EIA also involves parts of public hearing. If you have learnt about EIA in detail, public hearing is a part of environmental impact assessment. So the public already knows it, and their suggestions have already been taken before starting the project. So it also aids in cost effectiveness for the one who are building this project, whether it's the government or it is the capitalist. The fourth significance is it improves cost effectiveness. The next significance is that it assesses what can be the future losses. As I told you about the seasonal functioning of any project, that whether it will be sustainable, it would work properly during the monsoon season, or will the bridge collapse, are we using the right kind of material. So the environmental impact assessment of a particular area brings down the cost in the long term also, so that the project that is about to be built, that can be built in the most efficient and most right way, so that there are no losses that happen in future. So these are the four broad significances of EIA. You can go through your regular textbooks if you are following the book by Shankar IAS, or if you are following our channel for environment. Significances can be n number of significances, but you have to keep the word limit in mind, and whatever the points you find best for your answer, use those points in the significance for EIA. And now we'll proceed further and we'll see how can we elaborate it in form of a diagram. So this is a very common illustration that you will find in all environment books or on Google Images if you type environmental impact assessment. This illustration tells you about that how EIA is beneficial for any project. So I'll be explaining this diagram. See, this part, the y-axis signifies your environment, and this part signifies your time. When there is no project happening, no new building has been constructed or bridge has been built, when there is no project happening, then the state of environment is straight. The environment doesn't get impacted. But whenever there is a project that is being built, for example a refinery that's being built there, so this line that was going straight, it comes down here to this point. This is your adverse impact. From this normal state to this state, this deteriorated state, this is your adverse impact here. This is with project, this was without project, this is the present status. If there was no project available, no refinery was there. So this is with project. Now we'll study what if we include environmental impact assessment. So this is the environment, this is time, this x-axis is the time. When you have EIA in place, environmental impact assessment in place, then this loss, this degradation point comes down to here, and the loss can be minimized from this point, this much, to just this much. Okay, so loss will be there, some degradation will be there of the environment. If we are building something new, if we are humanly building something, of course there would be degradation, but with environmental impact assessment this can be reduced to a very great extent. Okay, so make sure that you use this diagram in your environment questions. Try to understand this and make the right diagram when you sit for the exam. The second part demands us to critically evaluate the star ranking system, the star rating system that has been started by central government for ranking of states. So I've already told you about the star ranking of states. What we'll now do is we'll develop a conversation by talking about what star ranking of states actually is, why is it important, like why was it started by the central government, and then we'll talk about the negative implications of it. And then we'll go on to our conclusion, we'll sum up with the forward looking conclusion. So let's see what can be the linkage points. So you know, environmental impact assessment, there are two types of projects, group A and group B type of projects that are there for environmental impact assessment in our country. Most of the projects in India are assessed by the state environmental impact agencies, a bulk of the projects, and only a few are assessed by the central government. So when state environmental agencies are assessing so many projects, bulk of the projects are with them, so the central government came up with the idea that whichever state gives the clearance in the shortest time period, we'll rank them higher. Okay, so to promote ease of doing business, to reduce the time taken by the state environmental agencies, environmental impact agencies to pass a certain project. And after the COVID-19 pandemic, this investment, opening up of starting new developmental projects, starting new projects and obtaining clearances for them has become need of the hour, because the economy is suffering very hardly. So earlier the central government came out with these new draft environmental impact assessment rules. A question has already been asked on these rules in UPSC in 2020. Go through them. It is highly expected that the implications of those rules will be asked this year, or the star ranking system will be asked this year. So go through them, and this part we are already discussing that why was it brought up and what can be its implications. So as you can see, it's written here that the environmental clearance of a project has to be obtained either from the state government or from the central government. The state environmental impact agencies are responsible for providing environmental clearance for a bulk of the infrastructure, developmental and industrial projects. So this is the reason to pace up the time in which environmental clearances are given by state impact agencies, state environmental impact agencies. To pace up that time, the central government has come up with this idea of star ranking of states. This star ranking will add as a mode of recognition, and it will encourage the state agencies to fasten the process, and there would be a competition between states for this fastening of process. Okay, so these are your linkage points. You don't have to write the entire linkage points in your answer. The answer just demands only 250 words. So see whatever explanation you want to give to the examiner, whatever the conversation you want to build up, and then just quickly proceed to the body paragraphs, which is critically evaluate the star ranking system. You have to critically evaluate this. So you have to you need to have the most used words, the highest number of words should be there in the main body paragraph, not in introduction or linkage points. So let's proceed to the body paragraph now. So we talked about why was the star ranking system put in place, why was it brought by the central government. However, it also hampers the environmental impact assessment system, and that's what we need to critically evaluate here. And how does it hamper the EIA system? Let's see. See, state agencies are there to undertake a detailed scrutiny of all the environmental clearances that are coming to them. They are not there to compete with some other state. They are there to protect the environment, protect the local interests. They are not a part of some competition or some race, and they should never be a part of such competition or race. So this star ranking system just makes them rubber stamp authorities. The time that they actually need to assess, to give a valid clearance to any environmental project, that cannot be done because they are put under the pressure of competition with other states. Otherwise they'll be ranked low. So this is the first disadvantage, that their function has been just reduced to rubber stamp authorities, or in the foreseeable future their function might be reduced to rubber stamp authorities. See, according to the Supreme Court, Article 21, right to life, it also covers the right to a healthy environment. If you have a healthy environment, only then you can lead a good life. So that is a part of Article 21, right to life. So how do we ensure a healthy environment? We need to have some checks and balances. We need to have some regulatory authority. So these state environmental impact agencies, these assessment agencies act as regulatory agencies. They provide a regulatory oversight before starting any project. And if we are putting curbs on the time that they take, on the way that they function, then Article 21 is hampered. We are being devoid of our Article 21 of our right to life. So that's the second negative aspect of star ranking system for states. See, any ranking system must induce a kind of healthy competition. The third point talks about that this system, this particular system that has been brought up by the central government, it will introduce unhealthy competition, because this is not the area we should be competing. Environmental clearances are very much important. They are the demand of the day. Our natural forests are declining. Our forest cover is increasing, but our natural forests are declining. Our forest cover in northeast, which contains most of our resources, that is coming down according to the ISFR report, latest report of ISFR. So these things have to be kept in mind. Environment clearance needs to take time. And if this competition is introduced between the states, among all the states, what happens? States just compete. They just try to give clearances as early as possible to rank higher on that annual or monthly ranking, whatever the central government is coming up with. So that time period does come down. Environmental clearances are given, ease of doing business does happen, but the environment at large suffers. The local communities suffer, local resources suffer, and environment suffers a great deal. So this is not a healthy competition. It introduces a unhealthy competition between states. And also, what about planned development? Whatever state ensures that environment clearances are given as soon as possible, all the industries will go and flock there. They'll open up their branches there, and other states which are keeping in view the environment, the importance of environment of their state, no industries will go there, or very few industries will go there, because everybody wants to jump the legal processes. So that will lead to a skewed development, skewed industrial development, and an unhealthy competition between states. The fourth point talks about the additional information sought by these assessment agencies. Now what happens is that an environmental impact, if for example you want to build a project in a certain area, so what you do is that you come up with an environmental assessment report of yourself, by yourself, and you give it to the concerned authority of the state. When that authority gets that report, so there could be questions from that side coming, that they will want to ask you that what else that you are planning to do, how will you address the forest that will be cut down, how will you plant more trees, or how will you address your pollution problems, how will you address your waste there. So there could be questions that could be lying with the state agencies which are investigating, which are assessing this environment, and they could want to contact you again and again if you are the businessman building the project there. So they'll want to contact you again and again. They'll want to assess that what about the monsoon season, what about the drought season, how will you run your project, where will you get the water from. So when this star ranking system that is entirely based on the time framework, that comes in picture, the state governments, the state assessment agencies, they will try to cut down on the data that they're seeking from you. Also, the program, this scheme directly states that whichever state assessment agency is asking more and more questions, is seeking additional information from the person trying to build the project, from the corporate, their points will come down. They will be given lower stars if you are asking for additional information again and again. So that is a negative aspect of it, because additional information directive for the state environmental impact agencies is in place just to ensure that all data has been received. The environmental impact assessment has taken a 360-degree view, and all seasons have been taken into view. All kinds of local communities benefit out of it, or the losses have been taken into account. So when the cap has been put by the number of times additional information is sought by these agencies, by the central government, so these agencies will not seek for more additional information, and this will bring down the efficiency of environmental impact assessment, and it's us, the communities, will suffer in the end. It's the people of India who will suffer in the end. So this was the critical evaluation. These were the implications of star ranking system of states brought up by the central government. Now let's see how can we build a conclusion. Since the directive was critically evaluate, in the linkage points itself we gave the importance, why it was important, why star ranking is important. We have not written down that in points, but we have definitely incorporated it in our answer. And don't forget to underline the keywords, the positive keywords, the need for star ranking system. And here broadly we have discussed about the negative aspects of it. When you see such a question in mains and you see that both the parts have to be talked about, make sure that before sitting for your mains you go through reports of PIB. Now let's proceed towards the conclusion. So this system, it's an ongoing debate, a debate between development and pollution, debate between ecology and economy. So this is an ongoing debate and it will go on forever. The government of the country actually plays a great role, and the bureaucracy, the civil society, all of us play a great role in maintaining a balance between how much development in the economy that we seek, or in the development in case of environment, how much environment protection that we seek. So that delicate balance has to be maintained, and let's see how can we talk about it in our conclusion. To maintain a balance between the ecology and the economy, development and pollution, it is necessary to revamp the time-taking stages in EIA. So EIA was a very time-consuming process. Years or many months used to pass before obtaining clearances for any development project, and ease of doing business was hampered. So yes, it is important to revamp the time-taking stages in EIA, as it has become a major obstacle in starting a business in India, and ease of doing business is what is the need of hour for us, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, star rating scheme can be justified from the economy point of view, but it is the state of economy at large which has arrested the growth of business. So here we are saying that it is not necessarily true that the time taken in environmental impact assessment is the cause that ease of doing business is not happening in India. There are other factors involved, and we need to address those factors, those economic factors, rather than tweaking such a crucial process of environmental impact assessment. We need to address the economic aspects, the technical aspects of our economy to pace up the economic structure of our country. So, but it is the state of economy at large which has arrested the growth of business. Hence, it should not compromise with the basic objective behind the environmental clearance, that is to ensure the least damage to the natural resources and incorporate suitable remedial measures right at the stage of project formulation. So here we have given a justification that yes, there are negative effects of the star ranking system. We understand that it is the need of the hour, and the move by the central government has all positive intentions, but environmental clearance, the basic objective behind environmental clearance, which is to protect the environment and to come up with other viable solutions, that should not suffer. And here you can I talked about in the introductory video also that some reports are very important, and India's state of forestry report is one of the most important one. You will see many questions in prelims directly from this report and in mains also. So according to this report, the natural forest that we had in India, the mangroves especially, so according to this forest, the area under natural forest is coming down. The area under forest in northeastern regions is coming down. So we need to address these issues before we start tweaking the process of environmental impact assessment. Hence, all our efforts must be fine-tuned to rightly serve all the communities and social groups. So this is where your conclusion ends. Here we have provided you with a quote which can be used in environment questions or essays related to environment. This is, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. So use such quotes in your environment answers. This just means that whatever development, whatever tweaking we do in our present, that has to be in keeping in mind the needs of our future generations, because we borrow our present from our future generations. Okay, so that's about it. We have rightly addressed this question. Make sure that you write your own answers, add your own quotes, your own flowcharts, your own diagrams, add your own points, and just see if you can justify this question better than what we have done here. Write your answers, send them to us by 12 PM tomorrow, that is February 17, and mail your answers to us at rmiaswriting@gmail.com. We'll come up with another topic tomorrow. That is from GS4, and it's a very interesting topic. It's emotional intelligence. So let's see what will be the question for tomorrow. Till then, practice answer writing, keep working hard, keep working for your prelims, mains, interview, or whatever stage you are in right now. Keep working hard, have faith, and stay tuned with us.